Hello, and welcome to Frank's School. I'm going on to the 175th day, first video, and there will be for maybe 20. And it's a little hard to explain. I've got things to explain that maybe I just have to spread it out. I can't say it all at once. In the course of this trip, which was an amazing trip that I took with the Hawklings, we went to Detmold first. This area is called Westphalia, and Detmold is maybe 2 hours drive away from Hagen. Well, this whole area, as I say, is called Westphalian, and both of these museums are operated, controlled, organized by a single body. The names are in German. It's Westphalian Landcraft Foundation or something like that. It's an open-air museum. But there's a real difference here. This was about farming, the one that you've just seen so many videos. It was about farming. This is about handwork. This is about the trades. This is about industry, but very early industry. And this is a split in my own life and history and experience and what I try to do, which is very real. I planned this trip carefully, but it turned out to be even more wonderful than I thought, almost too wonderful in a way. That's the part that's a little hard to explain. In one trip, I managed with the Hawklings' help to see enough for 5 or 6 trips. But these two go together. It's nice that they all are part of Westphalia. Now, this threw me into I took a pause of a day because I had to do some reading and studying. There was just so much to learn. I never studied German history officially. I never really studied European history except in high school. And German history is so hard. There was one time in the history of Germany where there were 224 states, individual independent states, where Germany is now one country. And so when you go back into the history, it's not a straight line. And I thought, well, Westphalia, let me find out what Westphalia is. And I mean, it's right there in the name of the museum, but it said, well, it's a little hard. They can't really say exactly what Westphalia is. The borders are not clear because it's not a modern-day state. It's an area, but it's an identity. And I read about that, and I'll read about it again. Another thing, people lived in this area from 10,000 BC continuously. The experience here is just so different from what, say, American experience would be. And these names, they probably look very strange to Americans anyway. I doubt, I wouldn't, Cologne, Köln, in German, now that name, you if you're a well-educated American, you've heard of Cologne or Köln. But I don't know, Düsseldorf, maybe not. Dortmund, almost certainly not. Essen, no. But these cities, taken together, and Hagen is part of it, are collectively the 5th largest megalopolis, I think they call it, in Europe. I didn't know this. And so I was confronted with all this new stuff to learn, to put Hagen in perspective. I was drawn to Hagen because of the museum dedicated to crafts. It's not like handicrafts. It's not like modern day doing things in a craft store. I mean, I was drawn because of that, but putting it in perspective. And then this area is called the Ruhr. There's 4 rivers here. The Rhine goes sort of like this. The Ruhr goes here. There's 2. Minden is another town here, which you probably don't know. And this area, the Ruhr region, it is fascinating. I mean, it's been blessed, and then later cursed, I think, by the fact that in this mountainous area, over here is Netherlands and the lowlands, and very, very rich farmland. Although this was also rich farmland. But it also had iron, and it had water power, and it had coal. And when you eventually, in the Industrial Revolution, when that combination of coal and iron, coal made into coke, and iron was put together, that made industry. And it's one of those things that I've learned. I guess I'm more interested in World War II than most people. Most Americans anyway, I suppose. But I don't know it all that well either. But this was the area that produced the arms for World War II, and this was the area that was so heavily bombed ultimately. Later on I'll probably say something about that too, but one of the figures I ran into was that Germany dropped 5% as much tonnage of bombs on England as England dropped on Germany. Toward the end of the war, these areas, they were just devastated. But that's sort of another matter. That doesn't have to do with what you're going to see right now. You're going to see this museum, and it is wonderful. For my purpose, it's really, as I said before, almost too wonderful. How could it be that good? And there had been a history in this area before. I'm sort of throwing at you some of the things I've recently learned. When I taught about the Industrial Revolution in school, I said the steam engine, it brought it on. Well, yeah, it really did. But there was an earlier Industrial Revolution based on water power. And I guess I knew that, but I hadn't really thought about it. So the Industrial Revolution was well underway with water power in this area before the steam engine came about. And in these mountains, there were little family-run industries, very small scale. Well, not compared to the Middle Ages, not compared to before. They were industries, but they were run by water power. And Hagen, actually, the museum is set up so that the whole thing, industry after industry after industry, can be run one right after the other by this very small stream coming down through the valley. Well, you're going to see it, and I probably just need to leave this, and you're gonna go. The first video that I show you is mostly the introductory signs that you see, and I would ask you please pause on them and read the English, because that tells you about that museum and what it is. And then we're going to go through, and I love it. It's just there's so much there. And I guess maybe one final thing I'd say, that in my hopes and dreams about making an open-air museum of my own here, the Old and Other Ways Museum, well, this land where I live, this farm, is not productive farm. It's not good farmland. It was mountainous. It was iron mined. But it has, in springtime especially, it has water. And so right here where I'm standing on this farm, there is, again, that same mix between the farming in the old ways and industry in the very, I shouldn't say industry, handwork, the trades. Well, I haven't been eloquent, but I knew I wasn't going to be eloquent. It's too difficult to explain this. However, when you look at the next video, you'll understand much better, and then into this wonderful museum we go. You know, it became a contest in our minds almost as we traveled to Hawkins and I, which was going to be the best. Because every one was just so good in its own way. Well, after Hagen, there's still one other one to come. But these two go together as a pair. And you could probably go online, if I've been too ineloquent, you could go online and read about it a little bit, but you'll certainly see it. All right, my apologies for being erratic, but I knew this was going to be hard to explain. So today there'll be this video, and then the second one as we walk into the museum. Bye for now.